So let's do the Tucker Carlson thing. That's what you guys. I want to watch it too. So Joe tweeted it.
All right. Founding editor at The Intercept, and he joins us tonight. So Glenn,
can you guys hear okay?
Aside the real question of how you should respond to Syria, and is it a threat to the world order and to us and to its neighbors? I think those are all fair questions. But why the universal attempt in the media here in this country, left and right, to shut down a meaningful conversation about it?
The only time I think that the media praised Donald Trump was almost 1 year ago today when he bombed an airfield in Syria in response to what had been alleged at the time was a chemical attack by the Assad regime. People who hate Donald Trump and go on air every day took a break for 24 hours to proclaim him presidential, because that's what U.S. presidents in their eyes do, is they just drop bombs on other countries with no declaration of war, no reason why U.S. interest or the U.S. borders are at stake when it happens. So I think that that's just the ethos in Washington, that not only is it just an inherently good and presidential thing to do to drop bombs on other countries, that's why polls around the world show that the greatest threat to world peace in the eyes of the public around the world is the United States. But also, Adam Smith wrote 300 years ago that the reason people who live in capitals and the elites in countries love to watch their countries bomb other countries is because it gives them a sense of excitement and purpose and kind of this pulsating stimulation. And I think that's a really big part of it. It doesn't matter whether it will accomplish anything. It just makes us feel strong and powerful and purposeful to do, and so just bombs away.
I think that's right. I mean, I think human nature explains a lot of this. I agree completely. But journalists exist to push back against that. Not necessarily against war, but against a heedless rush toward anything. I mean,
no, they should push back against war. But overall, holy shit, once again, I find myself agreeing with Tucker Carlson. I agree with what Glenn, in this particular segment, Glenn, I agree exactly with what Glenn said too, that the only time we praise Trump is when he bombs somewhere. That's the only, which, by the way, that's a great, I love how the corporate media is so schizophrenic on all this, because first they tell us it's scary that somebody like Donald Trump has his thumb on the nuclear button, which I agree, that is freaking scary. That ain't cool. But the other side of this, but then they also praise Trump when he bombs somewhere. And they also, and then they, smear him and ridicule him when he's not being hawkish enough. What kind of message is that sending? By the way, the only thing Trump knows is PR. That's the only thing Trump knows, PR. Trump knows public relations. So when the only time the guy gets praised is when he bombs somewhere, and then he gets ridiculed for not being aggressive enough, what do you think he's going to do? What do you think he's going to do? He's going to bomb more. That's what he's going to do. That's what he's freaking going to do. So, yeah, I agree. It's really scary that a guy like that has his thumb on the nuclear button. Is it any more scary than a George W. Bush? A legacy that's lied us into war multiple times? No, it's no more or less scary than that, but scary nonetheless. All right, so let's watch the rest of this.
I mean, our job is to be skeptical and ask real questions. Why is no one doing that, and anyone who does is attacked?
It's a good question.
So, just about every name that you mentioned in the media who attacked you for raising questions about whether or not we ought to actually go and bomb another country are all essentially neocons. They're the same people who were doing this in 2002 and 2003, saying anyone who asked questions about whether we should actually go to war and remove Saddam Hussein was an admirer of the Saddam regime. They did the same in 2011 when it came time to remove Gaddafi. They said
now Tucker's getting uncomfortable because this is still his tribe. Tucker looks uncomfortable now because he's calling out the neocons. That is still Tucker Carlson's tribe. I mean, let's keep in mind, Tucker Carlson is usually wrong the other 95% of the time. But for whatever reason on Syria, he nailed it yesterday. He freaking nailed it. That's how bad the media is. It's like, you want to know how bad the media is? Yesterday, I uttered the sentence, wow, Tucker Carlson's the voice of reason on this one. That's a sentence that should never be said, ever. But I said it yesterday, and it was the freaking truth.
If you're against that war, it means you love Gaddafi and you want to see him slaughter people. It's just the standard tactic. And what we have now is this kind of union between neocons who have now once again kind of been embraced by both the establishment wings of the Republican and Democratic Party, and the militarists in both parties, people like Lindsey Graham and lots of Democrats who love every single war. And so this climate arises that you're just supposed to cheer when it comes time to drop bombs on other countries, not ask whether there's evidence to justify it, not ask whether it will do any good, not ask whether it will kill any civilians. And if you do ask those questions, it means you're on the side of America's enemies. It's an incredibly authoritarian tactic that gets used to suppress debate.
Yeah, it's poison. I agree. Glenn Greenwald, thank you, as always.
All right. Well, there you go. That was a pretty good segment, I thought. I mean, I wish they would have gone deeper, but yeah, Glenn did good. You know, somebody like a Glenn Greenwald, they're not going to keep him on very long. Yeah. Someone like a Glenn Greenwald, they're not going to keep him on very long. Let's see what I'm missing in the chat. Tucker turned into a journalist for once. Yeah, I think you guys are right. You guys point out, like, he wrapped up as soon as he started getting uncomfortable. I have a feeling, too. Yeah, Tucker was getting uncomfortable. That was obvious. Some of you guys are talking about that in the chat. But I think that also, I have a feeling, if I had to take a guess, they planned on a short segment with Glenn Greenwald. That would be my guess. They're not going to do a long segment with Glenn Greenwald. So I thought that was a good segment. Some of you guys are saying that he said some stuff on Democracy Now! I'm not familiar with that. I did not see that segment. Yeah, I mean, as far as this goes, this has all the elements of another false flag. Why would Assad gas his own people when they're winning? When they're winning the war, like they're winning, I mean, you know, if you can really win a war, you know, but their side was doing better than the other side. Why would he then gas his own people to assure that the United States would strike back? Also, isn't it weird that as soon as the United States was going to start to pull troops out of Syria, all of a sudden this happened? It doesn't add up. It just doesn't add up. The most logical explanation for Assad being behind this would be if Assad was Gilligan from Gilligan's Island, and deep down he wants to stay on the island. Hey, we're going to win, Assad, just don't push this button. And then he goes, oh, I pushed the button. I mean, honestly, that's as much sense as it makes. That's as much sense as it makes. Hey guys, thanks for watching. That was a clip from Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. What does that mean? That means I log on to a stream and people tweet me articles over on Twitter at Ron Placone, or they use our Reddit subsection, which is just Get Your News On with Ron over on Reddit. And that's how we build the show. I'm seeing all these articles for the first time. We are literally getting our news on together. Follow me on Twitter at Ron Placone so you can participate. And this show streams live every Tuesday through Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, so please do tune in. If you want to support this show, you can do so over on patreon.com/Ron Placone, where for as low as $1 a month, you get access to exclusive podcasts every week, exclusive videos, free tickets to shows when I'm performing in your town, and more for as low as $1 a month. Please do consider it. Thank you so much for your support. This has been Get Your News On with Ron.